Hey guys, welcome to episode 127 of Meeple to Meeple. It is catnip to cardboard today. That's right. This is a little bit interesting. I'm really excited to present this to you. I want to say that board games often become a microcosm of cultural experiences, especially when you're living abroad. The rules may seem confusing, but eventually you figure things out. You learn how to enjoy the process and, more importantly, the shared experience of the table. You're able to adapt and even embrace the rules no matter where you are playing. Today, my guest co-host embodies this very experience of living abroad and embracing multiple language rules. And without that, I've just got to tell you, today I've got with me is Jennifer. Jennifer, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, PJ?
I'm excited to have you on. This is great. This is incredible. So you are an American who has now living in southern France.
That's correct. I'm American from California, and then I moved to Paris around 9 years ago. And I lived there for a year, and then now it's been 10 years that I'm in France, and I'm in Bordeaux, so it's the city of wine.
Oh, I love that.
Very fancy.
That is awesome. Well, what little French that I can remember is bienvenue and meeple to meeple.
Merci, c'est très gentil.
Guys are like, what did
That's
you just
perfect
say?
French. Welcome to Meeple to Meeple. It's perfect.
That's right. It's about all I got. So I'm really excited to talk to you because, first of all, I want to hear about how the circumstances that led you to moving to France and now Bordeaux, which is exciting. But also I'm interested in like the gaming culture there and everything like that. But so before we get into that, tell me, what was the first board game that got you into the hobby? Did it happen in America before you came to France? Did it happen while you were in France? And what game was that?
So I did play a lot of games as a kid. It was more like Apples to Apples or Wizardology. It was one based on a book, and a little bit of Monopoly, the different versions, Disney, etc. But when I came to France a few years in, I think about 6 years ago, I saw the game Villainous, and also there was a game Ni no Kuni, and it's a board game based on a video game. And as I loved the video game Ni no Kuni, I was very attracted to that, and I decided to give it a try. And once I tried Villainous and I tried Ni no Kuni, I saw that there was more than just Monopoly, more than just Apples to Apples. So I started watching videos on YouTube, like from Paradise Games, and they suggested a few for two people, and I saw Everdell, and the rest is history after Everdell. I fell in love.
That seems to be more and more the case, right? It's interesting. Yeah. So there was a wave where it was like their first game was Catan, and then it was Carcassonne. You're hearing more and more that Everdell was at the beginning of people's journeys. I really enjoy the fact that you didn't hit the modern board game world until you got to France.
Yeah,
you were playing Ameritrash classics, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
That's okay. All right. Yeah. I love that.
I was a lot into video games though. Before for the 5 years before I got into board gaming in France, I was playing video games all the time. So it was a little bit easing me into it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, so what do you feel about, there's a lot of video games that they turn into board games. And what are your thoughts on those? Are they, in your opinion, are they mostly successful? Are they partial? What do you think? What are your feelings?
I think most of the time they're not so good. When they follow an IP, I don't generally like them. I do have the Sally Face Strange Nightmares one based on the Sally Face board game, and I do like that. When it just follows the story and you're able to immerse yourself inside. I do like it, but most of the ones that I tried were not so good. Ni no Kuni, for example, was not my favorite, but it at least brought you into the art style, and you got to see everything again, the names, the universe.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not I never have really been a big video gamer. I mean, I'm 50 years old, so I remember like Atari and the Commodore 64. And yeah, so I mean, obviously when I grew up as a kid, I played video games, but I preferred more tactile, that board game and whatnot.
Mm.
And then as the modern consoles came up, you know, PlayStation, the Xbox, and all, it's kind of like I didn't really, I mean, didn't get into it too much.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of board games that I thought, wow, these are really cool board games. And then later on, I find out, oh, these are video games they converted. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So, yeah, I don't know what's in the video game world. I have to say, I'm kind of ignorant. I need to educate myself
Yeah.
a little bit because it's
It's a
gaming is based.
huge
Yeah,
universe. You might get
it
immersed
really
and
is.
then woof, float
That
somewhere
might
else.
happen. That
Yeah.
might happen. So, talk to me about the gaming world in Bordeaux. Is it predominantly video games? Is it board games? Is it a mixture?
I would say it's still mostly video games.
Yeah.
Board game is still seen as a, oh, you're playing Monopoly or you're playing Twister or things like that. So I think it's still the case in France.
That's
There
okay.
is certain like small festivals
Hmm.
or board game cafes and what was I going to say? There are board game cafes, the festival,
Yeah.
and then an association that you can join, like a
Okay.
club. So that
Okay.
it does exist, but I don't very much see
No.
people yeah into the gaming community. No.
Are there and please apologize. I apologize for my ignorance here of French administration culture and whatnot. Are there similar institutions? You know how we have public libraries. Do they have public libraries?
Mm.
And if they
Yes, yes.
do they offer board games? Because that's becoming more common here in the U.S. Are you see any
Yeah.
board games that you can like check out at the public libraries in France?
It's been like 7 years since I really went
Mm,
into one, so I don't know. I don't think so.
okay. All right.
But back
Yeah.
then, I no, there was none.
Okay.
None. 7 years ago, none.
That's interesting. Okay. So that's cool. I find it interesting though that their attitude is still the same as it is here, you know,
Mm.
right? Like just
Still
kind
a
of
bit weird. We're on the side.
yes. Yes. I guess I guess not my assumption. My thought process is you know, is that there's this because there's a long storied connection between the US and France. I'm reminded of a quote from Charles Trueheart. He said that France and the United States are bound by history and revolution, and also by mutual admiration and misunderstanding.
I agree. I
and,
agree.
and I'm like, okay, well, there you go, right? Right,
Yeah,
because
like
they were
siblings.
our yes, they were our first ally in our revolution. Our revolution inspired theirs. As an archivist in the professional world, which is what I do, the modern archival world comes out of French and American
Mm.
philosophical thought and professionalism. So there's definitely connections, but certainly misunderstandings as well. Also, being from Southern Louisiana, there's a lot of heavy French influence, but it's filtered through the Caribbean a
Mm.
lot. It's not a direct French, you know. So I
Yeah.
guess there's a lot of
Is it a bit like
misunderstandings there.
Creole? The
It
is
yes, it's
Cajun.
very Creole. Yes, yes. There's a lot. It's more like that. And so that's kind of the lens in which I understand French culture. Um, and so I'm just like, all right, cool. Well, that must be France. No, it's not. You know better.
No,
You
no, no,
know
no.
better. Tell me a little bit about do you have a local, are you a member of a local club or a board game
Mm,
community or anything like that?
I did want to join it, but I was already doing content creation, so it was a
Mm.
bit like it would take too much of my time when I'm already working. So I did want to, but maybe
So
when
who do
I'm not
you,
so much posting.
right. So who do you play board games with?
With myself, the
Okay.
kittens, no, and also
Yeah.
my partner. My partner,
Okay.
friends who come over, my partner's family. I'm alone here in France. My family's not here, so whenever I
Okay.
can play with her family, friends, yeah,
Okay.
or at
But
the board game
but
cafes.
okay. So there's the cafes, and then you have a small gaming group that you play
Yeah,
with.
yeah, yeah. But mostly myself and my partner.
Right. What kind of games do you and your partner favor?
We do like cooperative ones, but mostly competitive. And she's always winning. It's not usually me that's winning. And
Yep.
what do we like? We like Everdell, also dungeon crawlers, so
Okay.
lobotomy,
Okay.
zombicide.
Okay.
and
Yeah.
just a huge mix. Also, Euro games we like too.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about at the board game cafes? Are there any, because that's more you're playing with maybe strangers probably, or is it
Not
your
really.
group?
With friends from
No.
university, I did. Friends
Okay.
from university, so like code names,
Yeah.
Similo, yeah, more
Yeah.
of those.
What
What
about
about you
what
with your
is
wife?
oh, so we prefer any exclusive two-player games. If I find a two-player only game, I want a copy of it, even if it's rubbish. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I love two-player games. We have a small group here in Springfield that we play with. Um, but we're limited by either what their tastes are or just whatever they feel inclined to play. So a lot of two players. My wife and I are really big into campaign games.
Oh
We're in the middle
yes.
of Frosthaven. Been playing that for over a year. We have Ether Fields that we just picked up from Awaken Realms. That's sitting on the side to play. We're in the middle of Isofarian Guard by Sky Kingdom. That is a two-player only cooperative campaign that you and your partner might really
Need to
like.
try. Yes.
It's incredible. The box will not fit in a Kallax cube. The box is so big.
Oh.
But
We'll just
it's
have
a
to
lot of
present it on the
fun.
side.
Well, the thing is you can play and then you put everything back, but whatever, like when you build your bag, the chips that are in your bag, you just leave them in your bag, right? And then you
Yeah.
put those in the box. So when you take it out, you're ready to go again. And it's a lot of fun because it's two-player only, so you don't have to like with Frosthaven, there's four of us, and it's like if somebody can't make it this week, I mean, you could play
Mm.
without them, but that's not fun because you want them to they're along for the story. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but Isofarian Guard's a great one. The other one we're in is ISS Vanguard, which is another Awaken Realms campaign. Man, we love that. Hasn't hit the table yet this year, but we need to get to it. But yeah, so campaigns, two players. Um, I
Do
mean,
you
we
do
got
the audio? Do you listen to the audio? I did notice the Isofarian guards did have a.
so we tried and we didn't like it.
Mm.
We do. I started for Frosthaven. I started using the Foreteller app because I recently, as all of my followers and listeners know, I've been struggling with bronchitis. So rather than, and I'm usually the one that's doing the reading. So the Foreteller app really helped with that, preserving my voice and not
Yeah.
hacking up a lung while you're trying to tell a story or anything of that nature. So that's frustrating too. But thank God for that. ISS Vanguard has its own app, so we do use that.
Mm-hmm.
My wife will follow along in the logbook just to make sure, because sometimes if I accidentally hit a button, it might save data that maybe we shouldn't have saved because I
Yeah.
accidentally hit a button. So she'll keep notes, and things of that nature. But so what's hitting your table recently?
Recently,
what is your current obsession?
Final Girl. I am.
Final Girl, yep.
I'm a huge horror fan. So Final Girl is where I get to live my little horror movie. So that one's
That's
mine.
yep. Yeah, that's a great one
And
because it's solo, right? And then
yes,
as a
yes.
horror fan, it's horror not inspired, it's horror, right?
Yeah,
Um,
every single box is based on films or inspired by films. So it's really
right.
allowing you to immerse yourself inside a different film each time and then mixing it up if you like. And I have the whole collection so far and I'm trying to build it.
Wow. There's a
Yeah, I'm a
lot.
bit
There's a
obsessed.
lot of
Yes.
there's a lot of content. I think what I've noticed is people who play Final Girl are just like you. They have to have it all and
Yeah.
they play it all the time, which I think is great. Bo from Denmark, he was on a couple of weeks ago where we did solo games. He
Yes.
talked about Final Girl as one of his favorite solo games. We talked
It's
about it
too
a
good.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
That
even if it's random, even if you lose, you deserved it. It's a
right.
horror film. Why are you supposed to win? I
Well,
don't really mind in that case.
someone has to survive in order to tell the story, right?
Yeah. But not all the time. I'm often losing more than I'm
Right.
winning. Yeah, but
Um,
at least I get to go through the story of it.
right. No, and some of these narratives just are so creative. I recently played Primal, which is not solo. It's a
Hmm.
cooperative kind of fight Fight the Dragon, one of those monster killer games, beautiful miniatures. The narrative was just amazing. The writers on some of these are
Awesome.
just incredible. You know,
Yeah.
I
I
love
need to
that.
write that down then. Narrative,
Yeah,
Jenny, that goes together.
yeah. It is. It is cooperative. It is fighting dragons. It is called Primal. I don't remember the subtitle, but you'll
No,
be able to figure it out.
I'm writing it down right now. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you are very welcome. You take that. Yeah, so that's one worth checking out. It has some issues with the mechanics a little bit, but otherwise it's just such a rich narrative. Another rich narrative is are you familiar with Scythe by
I
Stonemaier
am
Games?
familiar, but I have not played it myself.
Okay.
But I did watch a lot
So
of things about it.
there's a campaign that's separate. It's like an expansion. It's the Rise of Fenris, and there's no audio narration for it. And so when we first played it, like you're reading from the book, and it's like 10 pages, and it's one of those spiral books. So and it's full pages, and it's just got a rich story. And I'm a
Sounds
sucker
incredible.
for I'm a sucker for a rich story. I want a well written. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
reason why I'm into Red Raven as well. I really love Creature Caravan. Creature Caravan doesn't have the story elements, but
No.
Sleeping Gods,
Mhm.
Above and Below, Now and Never, Near and Far. I love those ones.
Yeah.
Are you
And those
into
are
any of
cool.
those?
So we played Sleeping Gods, and we ended up selling it because we had been through it twice. And while we hadn't explored everything, we were just kind of like, "Yep, we're done. We got it."
Yeah.
You know, it just kind of the story was cool. The story was cool, but we figured someone else would enjoy it, so we reset everything, put it in a box, and
Yeah.
sold it.
Especially if you've already played it. If you've already
Mhm.
played it enough,
Right.
it makes sense to want to go forward with
Yep.
something else. Did you
Exactly.
try Near and Far
Exactly.
or any of the other ones?
We haven't. We haven't played either Near and Far or Above and Below. Have not played them. I'm constantly reminded. I've been thinking about this now. At the time that you're listening to this episode, I will have already returned from Origins. But at the time that we're recording this, I will be in Origins next week, and everyone in the chat group's like, "What are you bringing? What are you bringing?" Right? And so everyone wants to bring like their entire collection. And I'm a firm believer when I travel, I'm traveling light. We're bringing 2 games only because we promised to teach them, and that's it. I say that because I'm constantly reminded of just how many board games there are. So to play them
Hard to
all, it's like,
narrow down.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we would all love to quit our jobs and get paid to play board games. I know I
Yes.
would. I
Oh,
don't know. I
yes.
think honestly, to be honest with you, that would not be fun for me. What would be fun is to be able to quit my job and talk about board games all day because that's what I'm good at.
And you're already doing it. So just make it
Yeah,
more.
exactly. I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm paying to do this, right?
Yes.
So I got to figure that out. So let's talk about the title of the episode. Catnip to Cardboard. You are known as like the perfect gamer because you're a cat mom of 2 adoring feline friends, Anakin and Ohana. Do either of them have favorite board games that they like to jump on the table for? Like, are they a little bit discerning? I've had cats in
Yes.
the past that
Yes,
were.
yes, yes, yes. A bit too much.
So,
That's why I created Perfect Gamer. It
uh-huh,
was because they were there anyway, so might as well take the photos.
right.
I
So
think it was
do they have a favorite game they like to jump on the table for?
Anakin right here, his little
Mm-hmm.
paw. He really, really likes any game with a playmat. So I have a
Oh,
playmat for Tapestry, Final Girl. Those are the ones. He will be there in a second. As soon as he hears that,
oh
he'll
yeah.
come. But it started with Cosmoctopus. He likes the little
Okay.
tentacles, and he came and he was just playing with the pieces. But
Right.
he's not really bothersome at the table.
Right.
He still stays there sleeping like this. And
Yeah.
Ohana, I don't think she's not that interested.
Okay.
She comes when she wants, but she's not really hopping on to
Right.
be board gaming with me. It's not her
Right.
thing.
Right. Our 2 cats, Lursa and Bator, they will jump on the table. They don't have any favorites. It doesn't matter. If we're playing a board game, then we're not paying
Yeah.
attention to them, so they got to jump on the table.
So
But it's interesting. These 2 and their sisters, these 2 are really careful when they walk, they don't knock anything over, intentionally anyway. But typically, Beator has to sit in the chair right next to Katie, and Larsa will sit next to me typically. So they want to be at the table and sit at the table. Our previous cat, I wish I could remember what episode it was. We did a memorial episode for my cat Shrimp, who had died in November of 23, I think. Yeah, November of 23. And Gareth and I did it. I just talked about my cat for an hour, and she
Yeah.
had some favorite games, but she liked to, is like, no matter what, she had to sit. She had to be in a chair, and she would like put her paws up on the top of the table and just watch. She wouldn't jump on the table, but she had to watch. She had to be like, she was more of a person. I'm
Yeah.
going to sit here and
Oh, how
I'm going
sweet.
to play with you. But yeah, really, really miss her. But Larsa and Beator are just as lovely as
And
well.
shrimp is such
So,
a cute name.
oh yeah. Well, she was. I mean, she was like this big when we got her, and that's hence the name.
Oh.
And yeah, yep. How long have you had both the cats? Did you bring them with you, or did you get them in France?
No, I got them in France. I was actually afraid of cats before. It was my
Oh,
partner. Yeah, my partner, she kept saying, "Oh, come on, you gotta try it." And I was scared that they would claw me or hiss or just bite me. I wasn't sure how cats acted with other people.
right.
And it wasn't until she suggested getting a Maine Coon. And when we got Ohana was our first one. She was so small, like you're describing, so small. And I fell in love right away. My heart dropped. It was melting. I was like, oh! And I was playing with her. She was so cute. And we got uh, Anakin shortly after. So they're about 8 months apart. And I think we have an app that tells us exactly how old they are. And I think 4 years and 9 months and 4 years and 3 months or something like that. But both 4 years.
I love it. That's great. Yeah.
How old are
They're
your cats now? You adopted them
Lursa.
recently.
Yeah, we had they in August we'll have had them for a year, but they were two, so they're probably 3 years old now. They were two when we rescued them.
Oh,
So, and like a week before we went to the shelter and rescued them, they had a third sister who was rescued by an older lady, and that cat was like a calico cat,
so cute.
whereas these two are like gray and just,
But
I mean,
beautiful
beautiful,
cats. Yeah.
spitting images of one another almost. And they've got the five, the what do you call that? The not
Oh, polydactyl?
pterodactyl, polydactyl.
Polydactyl. Mine
Yes,
too.
pterodactyl. Yeah, no, polydactyl. Yeah, it's
I'd
so
rather
that's
have a
really
pterodactyl
interesting.
cat.
Yeah, exactly. But they love to be a part of the gaming table. They're mostly they're not too interruptive. I love that you were originally afraid of cats, and now you are the
Yeah.
perfect gamer. I
It's a
love
bit
the
strange. Yeah.
cat mom gamer in southern France. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's incredible. That
Yeah,
is
now
just
I'm
so
not afraid
cool.
at all.
No,
My cats helped. They helped a lot.
and they're really active in your content creation. They're in every photograph pretty much.
Every single one. Every single
How do
one.
you how many pictures do you have to take, right? Or
Mm,
are they real?
mm.
Because so in the pictures you post, your cats are perfectly still. It's just like they're so attentive. How many pictures does it take for you to get to that one?
Um, 30? But
Yep.
it's, yeah, a lot of me taking the same thing at the same time. But they generally know how to stay still. But
Oh,
looking at the camera is the harder part.
that
And
is
so,
that is a challenge.
have you ever
Yes.
tried? I'm putting like stuffed animals on my head or making those like sounds like, come
Yep.
on,
Yes.
Anakin.
Yes. These are the things that us cat parents have to struggle with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, it's so true. Yeah, I don't usually post them in much of the content that I create. I think I did a reel for Tokaido Duo, and Beator just wouldn't get off the table. So I'm like, well, you're going to be a
Yeah,
part of
you're gonna
this,
be in it.
and it's going to be fine. But usually not. Typically, it's when we have friends who want pictures of our cats, or us. We like to share pictures of our cats. Us parents,
Yeah.
right? Um, it's trying to get them to look at the camera, and then once we do, you get that right photo, you delete the rest, and you're like, hey,
Yeah.
look what they're doing today. Yeah. It's amazing. Truly amazing. So, what about how difficult was it for you to adjust to
Mm,
playing games in a foreign country and learning rules in a foreign language? Now, I understand you're fluent in French. You had to be to move there, but
yeah.
still, learning a board game with the rules in a language that's not your native language. What was that like, and how did you adapt to that microcosm of shared experiences?
I think I did my studies here. I did my bachelor's and master's here. So
Okay.
having that background of really knowing higher level words did help.
Hmm.
And it also helps you learn how to guess what the words in between that you don't understand mean.
Hmm.
And reading rules, playing games. As I started mostly becoming a modern board gamer here, I was introduced to the words directly.
Right.
And it makes me more tired if the game is in French and I have to learn the rules in French, and often there's translation errors. I remember I was playing Tapestry and I was trying to learn how to play solo, and the French translation had an error in it about where to place one of the pieces, and that quite irritated me. I had to look up online what the English uh, original part was, and then that helped. But yeah, no, it makes me more tired to do the French one, but as I'm fluent now, it's quite the same. It's more
Hmm.
about buying the French games that we know we'll be playing with her family, or
Okay.
making sure that we have an English copy for when my family visits. But there's not really a now. There's no difficult part, but it came from doing my studies here, I think.
Right. Okay.
Because
So,
learning history in French is hard. Playing a
uh,
board game in French is easier than that.
yeah, yeah. I think that's true of anything. So, when I was in graduate school, I had to learn one of the languages I had to study because I was studying ancient history, so Latin, Greek, right, Coptic, all the
Yeah,
ancient languages.
the hard ones.
That
Yeah.
came, well, they came easy because you only have to read them because they're not spoken,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then you have to learn some modern languages. So I was learning German because there was a lot of German scholars writing about the ancient world, so I had to be prepared. I was playing a lot of Catan, and I picked up a bunch of expansions and content that was written in German. And I was like, well, I'm really familiar with the vocabulary of board games and rules
Yeah.
and Catan, that maybe it'll help me to learn my German. Nope.
No.
No, no, it
It did
didn't.
nothing for you?
No, if anything, it made me give up because it was just more
Oh
difficult.
no. Oh
Which
no.
was frustrating because I thought I want to learn, right? Like I'm because it's gaming. I was like, oh, this would be great.
Yeah.
No,
That
do
does
you?
remind me of something. I had a
Sure.
friend. He had lived in Canada. He was from China. He came from a lot of places too, and he stayed in France for about the same amount of time as I had. And I considered him more fluent than I was at the time. We were both university
Okay.
students, and I invited him to play a game over at my house, and he didn't understand one of the words, and it was the word draw, like draw a card. And I was shocked. I was like, wow, how do you not know that word? Wow.
Right.
So you can be very good at French and just not understand the ones really related to
Hmm.
the board gaming.
Right. Yep. I could see that. When you okay, so if you were going to order a game online or go to a local game cafe, I'm assuming the game cafes also sell board games. Is that yes?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
correct.
yeah.
So you're going to buy a board game for yourself, whether it's a solo game or it's a game you know you're going to play with your partner. Do you prefer buying it in English, or is it so natural you'll buy? If it's in French, it doesn't matter.
If there's narrative elements to it, almost always English, because
Okay.
that's usually the original language it was made in. So we want to
Right.
know the how it was made to begin with without going through a translation. So
Hmm.
something like Lands of Galzier, we would definitely get in English. Sleeping
Okay.
Gods in English. In French, I can almost I would take French for other ones, but mostly English. Unfortunately, I've
Yeah.
been here for 10 years, but it's still English. That's my cozy place, my home.
Do you dream in French?
No,
No.
no, no.
So you
I
haven't.
would say I probably everything is in English for me.
Okay.
And French is my surroundings. If I have to go to the store, go to the pharmacy,
Right.
the
Okay.
doctor, anything like that, it's French.
Because that's when you're fully not acclimated. There's a word for it. If you dream in that language,
Oh,
then
really?
it's not immersed, it's not acclimated. There's another word for it, but I don't know. I've read that not about French, but just about in general,
Yeah,
learning
yeah, yeah.
languages when you dream in that language. So what about publishers? Are there any publishers in France, games that are
There's
coming here? Yeah.
mm, ones that make games that can be in the United States and everything, or just translations.
No, like yes, games that can be distributed anywhere, right? Because I'm trying to think
Yes.
that I think there's one, right? Because there's a series of games where the label says "Sorry, we're French" on it, and I can't
Oh, I
remember.
think I think that is the name.
Is that the
I
name?
think that's it. I think that's the name. Yeah, I
Okay,
remember seeing that. I think that was the name. But also, there's Matago, and
Matago. Oh, okay,
yeah,
so Matago is
yeah.
French. Okay, I
It's
didn't
the
know that.
French. They do the translation for Button Shy.
Okay,
They have their own way of publishing Button Shy, rather than
okay.
having all the colors. A certain color for solo, a certain color for
Hmm.
dual games, and then uh, different translations. But I don't know. I haven't really looked into it if they make their own. I
Right.
think it's just an editor. Yeah. But
Um, I know you said that it's really similar to the U.S., where people hear board games and they assume, "Oh, you're playing Monopoly or Risk." But I'm curious: is there any Is there like a big convention in France? So England has UKGE, right? We clearly have Origins and Gen Con and Dice Tower, and there's a lot. But I think that's because our country is so big, more than we're so prominent in the industry.
yeah,
Essen Spiel is in Germany. I was wondering if there was like, is there one in France? Like Paris is a big
there
city. I
there
would
are
imagine.
there are. I think it was. I haven't gone. My partner's sister did go, and we have family that did go. But I believe there's one in Cannes and
Oh,
in Toulouse, which they're both in southern France. But
right.
I haven't seen any in Paris that I've heard of. We did have a small one in Bordeaux, and it was just a few publishers coming, and it was in partnership with a board game cafe. So it's mostly those
Oh,
types of things. It's not as
okay.
big as Eschenspiel
Right.
or Origins. No, I don't. I can't think of
These.
any that's as big.
Okay. So, there's what we're starting to see, particularly in the Midwest. We're seeing a rise of these smaller conventions that are centered strictly around gaming. And they're usually anywheres between 400 to 2,000 attendees, right? Is
Oh,
that so? So the little one you're talking about is probably smaller than
yes, there was
yeah.
also a board game geek festival. That one was a few weeks ago, and
Okay.
it was much smaller, because it's also linked with like cosplay, video games,
Mm. Oh,
and
sure.
the board game aspect is just a small part, and it's new. I think it's only about a year or 2 years old. So
Okay.
I think board gaming is starting to become a thing here, but
Hmm.
I wouldn't say it's huge. Not like in
So
Germany, or
so
haven't
now
heard
comes
that
the
either.
tough question. Here comes the tough question. You ready for this one?
No.
What have you been what have no, it's going to be fine. What have you been doing to build and nurture a board game community in your area?
What have I been doing? I've been
Mhm.
influencing people around me to play games.
Yeah.
So the people who I went to university with, instead of just going to have a drink, go to a bar, go dancing, I would say, what about a board game cafe? Or how about we come and play Everdell? That one's a really great game. I think you'll like it. So I do try to get the people around me to play games. My partner's family wasn't really into games before, and we got them into it. And so I think it's like just the people around me first. I haven't really
Right.
branched out too much, but I did speak with the association at the club in my city, and I was really interested in joining them because they're just nerds like me. We're all just the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. We're all the same.
Yeah.
So does that mean that you do you generally teach the games when you're playing?
Yes, or my partner, both of us.
Okay.
We do it the same. I'm a bit more. Oh, and then this rule. Oh, and then this. So
Right.
I'm not as organized as she is.
Okay.
I don't know about you. Who's the one teaching with you?
No, Katie's she's the teacher. And I think, yeah, that's definitely the case. So the thing is, I think the reason why she and I complement each other so well, and she said this, so I'm not speaking out of turn. I've heard her say this,
Yeah,
and to be honest with you, this is true not just in gaming. It's true in our work lives. It's true in our home lives and when we're gaming. I'm a big picture guy, right? I'm like the 10,000-foot view. I see the big thing. I'm really into the theme of the board game, and I'm interested in getting you excited. I get you to the
yeah.
table, but
I'm like you.
Katie is very detail oriented, and she wants to make sure that you understand the rules so that you can enjoy the shared experience that I have just worked hard to get you to come to. And so in that regard, we work really well together.
Yeah.
You can imagine that works really well, like in our professional lives as well, because
Oh yeah, yeah,
as I've said before, I work for her. She is my boss at work, and so it's great. She's detail, so I kind of do I get all the ideas, and then she sifts through the ideas she doesn't like, and then
and organizes it.
right, she organizes them, and then she comes back to me with a list of marching orders and says go, and I'm like, yes ma'am, and I'm like, let's do it. So
Yeah. I would say
yeah,
we're very much the same. My partner
yeah,
is much more organized, more detail oriented, and doing it in order. I would say,
right,
oh, you see that piece over there? That's really important for this.
mm-hmm.
But I am able to teach. I'm not the best teacher, but I am able to.
Yep. Do you struggle? I mean, I do. Do you struggle with following the order of operations in a game? Because you know how
I would say so,
at
yeah.
the end of each round, there's like steps before I really just kind of consolidate it all and do it right.
Yes, as
And
long as it's done.
so yes, that's how I
Yeah,
feel. Yeah.
same. I think we were playing Deep Regrets, and my partner was a bit frustrated with. It didn't make sense to her the certain order of the things, and she wanted to make sure that we really did it in the right order so that we don't miss anything.
Right.
And I was just like, it makes sense, just do this, do this, do that. As long as you do all of the first steps before you get into fishing, I think you're good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't getting frustrated, but she was like,
Right.
oh,
Right.
we have to make sure we get every point right.
Mm-hmm. I have friends here in town that are very much they want to stick to the order of operations. So I try to be respectful to that. I'll be honest with you. There are a couple of games that I personally experienced. I wasn't playing with these friends. I was playing with some other folks, and I was thankful for their attention to the detail of the order of operations. I'm thinking about Star Wars Imperial Assault, which is a
Mhm.
massive miniature campaign game, dungeon crawler, if you will, centered around Star Wars. And at the end of each round, there is an order of operations that have to happen. And so it's really important because it could potentially affect the next round for your players because it's a
Yeah, yeah.
1v all. One person plays the Empire and then you have four rebel heroes, right? And so you want to follow those rules. And so I've taken it away from some of my friends who are more detail oriented, but I still fall short.
Yeah.
I fall
I don't
short.
want to look at the rules all the time.
I know. I don't either.
Yeah.
But without rules, there's just chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I'm more the big picture kind of person.
Right.
If we're explaining rule after rule, for example, my partner needs to read the rules if we haven't played for 4 months a game. She needs to really go back into it. I'm just like, okay, I think we need to do this, this, and this. I'll look at the rules if I need to for that aspect. But she's like, no, no, I need to read the entire thing.
Yes.
What about you?
I am
Do you need to read it first, or are you good to jump in?
my wife needs to read it. I'm like, let's just do it. But to be clear, she's right, and so is your partner. You and
Yeah,
I are wrong. You and
unfortunately.
I are
Yeah.
wrong because
Unfortunately, yes.
it's so true. We just want to dive into it. I'm all about that experience, but yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
refresh.
I think you need
Um,
a mix of both, like not getting so caught
yeah,
up in the details that you get frustrated. But
yeah.
yeah,
It's
no, I
really
agree.
helpful though. The fact that you have your partner, right? Like that's the perfect melding of
Yeah.
personalities, is so that we can have both, right? Because you want to make sure, especially when you're with friends or strangers, if you're playing
Mm.
with newcomers to the hobby, you want them to have fun. So you and I, our personalities can do that, but our partners can help us to keep things
Yeah,
in
like
line,
guide. Yeah.
and it's really good. So I want to ask, other than Everdell, if you were, or do you, when you're introducing a game to a bunch of new players, right? You're bringing a group, whether it's at the cafe or at your house or
Mm.
wherever.
Mm.
Do you have a preferred gateway game? Right, we typically call them that.
Yeah.
A gateway game that you like to teach to newcomers to the hobby. Do you have like a go-to that you're like, we're going to teach this?
We do like Let's Go to Japan because
Okay,
it's a game that can be played with everyone playing at the same time, and it's
right,
passing the cards around, so it's not so difficult to explain. It's
right.
also a concept that most people understand. Planning a vacation is just,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what can we do on this day? What kind of day do we want to have? So that one, it makes sense to people. It's pretty. We have a lot of the deluxe components, so it's a nice game
Oh,
to game right to get people who aren't into gaming to the table.
right.
And we've tried that with a few people, and it works.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
really good choice. We
yeah.
had Josh Wood on the show earlier this year.
What?
I
Oh, that's
interviewed
cool.
him, and we talked about Let's Go to Japan for an hour, which was great. So,
I'll be
guys,
stretching.
if you haven't listened to that, go back and check out Let's Go to Japan, interviewing with Josh Wood.
No, a very
That
good
is a
game.
That's a really good game to teach. I think that might be one of the few games that I might be able to teach. For those of if you've listened to last week's episode, it's all about teaching games to
Mm.
newcomers, and Brian talks at length about his choices. But that's a really good one, and we didn't think about it. Let's Go to Japan's a good one. Yeah, it's so accessible too.
Yeah.
I like that. Do you do you have any others? Are there any others? Is that
I think also some of the KTBG ones. So Creature
yeah,
Caravan. Oh, so not so. Creature Comforts, Maple Valley, the Dice Veggies. All of
yeah,
those they're not so hard to teach, and
right.
they're Spots. Spots was a good one.
A lot
You
of our
roll
friends in
dice and you put it
England,
on.
yeah, a lot of our friends in England talk about spots. I've never played it, but they're
Oh,
constantly talking
really?
about
Oh,
it.
no, dice ones are great. Dice,
Yeah.
you just had to roll, place it on. It's easy
Yep.
to explain.
I think that people are shocked when they see dice veggies, right? Because
Mhm.
you take the knife and you cut the dice away. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
right. I think that's something it's accessible game because we all know what dice are like, and the color coding, that's easy.
Yeah, but counting,
Unless you're
having the little pips,
Yep.
have an impact as well. That's
Yeah.
cool. I do like that
Mm-hmm.
one. So
Unless
that was pretty easy to explain too.
Yeah, I agree. I think another one is Heat Pedal to the Metal. I'm not really big of a racing fan, but I got to tell you, as far as racing games go, that's a
That's
really,
a good one.
really good. Yeah, and it's not dice because you kind of have you can. There are
Mm.
expansions that allow for this, but there's a little bit of card drafting, and so you can craft your own deck. It's not really deck building so much because you do all of it at the beginning, but you
Mm.
have asymmetrical decks of cards, and you
Nice.
use those cards to race around the track, and so it's kind of cool. But you've got to be careful because when you hit corners, your total number can't exceed the number at the corner, otherwise you spin
Because you'll
out.
hit, yeah.
Yeah, or you'll gain heat cards because you're overheating your engine. The
Yeah.
theme really the theme really informs the
Mm.
gameplay of
Yeah,
heat.
yeah.
But
When the theme is good, when a theme matches the gameplay, it really helps.
but you get to push these little fun cars around the track, and who doesn't love
So
that? That's a
cute.
good game. Yeah, that's a good gateway game too. And it's not rules heavy, so I think
Hmm.
no matter what, and it's Days of Wonder, so they do a really good job of. There's always like a French, a German, an English
Yeah.
uh, copy of the rule book, and
Translation. Mm.
their translations are really good. Um, Days of Wonder is a really good company that provides you with multiple language rule books when you buy the game,
Very
so
helpful.
so that it's accessible, and that's helpful
Yeah.
for introducing to newcomers as well. So yeah. Yeah.
We do that sometimes. We take like a game, if we want to be able to play it with my partner's family and they only speak French. If a game's in English, we do try to translate on their phones. We would take a little summary of what we find important and then make sure that that translation is available for them. And that's worked with us. Let's Go to Japan is the one that we've played with them a lot, and it's
Yeah.
in English, and they were able to do it. It is
Right.
quite language independent, so
Yes.
it's not dependent on it, but it does help to be able to have extra little information on the side
Right.
for how to play.
Which I
Yeah.
think is
But
really, I think that's important. That language independence to make games accessible.
yes, almost
Yeah.
always those are the ones that we buy too.
Yeah.
It works.
Oh, it
And
does. Yeah.
have you played Carcassonne? That's the one
Oh
that
yeah.
we do, yeah. That was probably the
So
first one I played in France too.
really, have you been?
Yeah,
Have you been down to Carcassonne?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
But
Now
my
here's
goal is to play Carcassonne in Carcassonne. I haven't
yes,
done it yet. I need to do it.
yes. You got to do that. Yeah, you
Yeah,
absolutely
it's on
have
the
to.
bucket list.
So when Katie and I were when we started dating and we were both in graduate school, um, she already had the big box for Carcassonne with like I think at the time when we met it was like there were 5 expansions and this one
Mhm.
included all 5 expansions. There have been since multiple others beyond that. But yeah, so it's tile placement, which is my absolute favorite board game mechanic. Like, yeah, I
It's too
will
perfect.
yes, I will forgo playing a tile that will help me as long as it fills in holes in the map
Really?
I because I want a perfect map more than I want to win the game. But you
Oh,
know,
really? You're not the type
yeah.
to ruin other people's plans?
In certain games, yes, but in tile placements, probably not. No,
Yeah. You're a
because
perfectionist in that sense.
I just yeah,
Needs to
it's like
look
I love the
good.
map.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember growing up as a kid having maps hanging on my wall, so I've kind of this affinity for maps, and so I love the tiles and being able to build this world right here in two
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
dimensions in front of us. So yeah, I absolutely love that. Carcassonne's a good one. I would love to go to
Yeah.
Carcassonne and play Carcassonne.
We
That's a
can do it
bucket
together.
list.
It's on my bucket
Yes.
list, so we can do it together.
How far away from Bordeaux is Carcassonne?
I can take a train ride there.
Yeah.
So I think the last time I took maybe 2 hours, 2 3 hours. It's
Okay.
not that bad. Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I can do
That's
it.
that's
Now
amazing.
that would be harder.
Yeah. That's a
A plane and then
yeah.
a train ride.
Yep. The train ride to Chicago from here is it's like 4 hours total. So
Oh,
that's a train ride. You could drive there in like 3.5 because the trains have to make stops and whatnot. But
yeah.
so that's how close to Chicago I am. But yeah, so you're even closer. So that is doable. So what you need to do is start inviting all your gamer friends to come and spend weekends with
Yeah,
you and be like, we can go
I
to
do. I
Carcassonne and play
do.
Carcassonne.
I want to. As I post in English, most of the people that I'm talking to are in the UK or America, not so much in France. And I think that's one of the little efforts that I need to make to try to reach out to French
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
So I agree with that. Uh, have you formulated any plans for reaching out to a more French audience?
I can translate my content. That would
Yeah,
help. And I did think about doing that, but I do talk to French people. I'm more reaching out and like talking to them in French rather
right,
than having them come to me. Yeah,
right. Would
to
you?
nurture the board game community, I need to do that.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what you need to do. Would you consider like starting a different account on your social media that's exclusively in French for a
Oh,
French audience?
ooh.
Right.
I could do that. Yeah, because I did not want to mix it. I know Game Karine. Do you know
Hmm.
Game Changer by Karine? She's
Yep.
posting both French and English, and I love the way
Yep.
that she does it. But I
Yep.
did not want to do that myself. I wanted
Right.
it to be more accessible to English. But I
Hmm.
could consider, yeah, pputting Perfect Gamer, translating
You
Perfect Gamer
could.
into French.
You could definitely do that. What I would say is if you decide to do it, it's not be careful because I manage 2 accounts too. Obviously,
Yeah.
there's the Cajun Gamer when I
Yeah.
started, but then when Gareth and I got together and created Meeple to Meeple, so there's like these 2 accounts that I'm running, and they're both board game accounts. So sometimes I'm posting on Cajun Gamer, and I'm like, you really should have posted on Meeple to Meeple, right? This is yeah. you know, and so I'm in that debate right now whether or not to like abandon one, because I want to draw more people to the show. I don't really care about the Cajun Gamer, and the longer I'm living here in Illinois and I'm further away from my life in Louisiana, the less that I identify as the Cajun Gamer. I'm like, you know, now when I introduce myself to people at conventions, I'm
It's
like,
Meeple
hey,
to
I'm
Meeple.
PJ, people from Meeple to Meeple. Yeah, you know, got business cards and stuff like that. And it's like, I've never made a logo for Cajun Gamer. It's always been, but I mean, people know me as the Cajun Gamer, but I don't know who that is anymore in terms
Yeah,
of identity, right? So yeah, there you go. So
I'll have to look into
you
that.
need to reach out to the French,
Yeah,
build a French community, and maybe
I'll
you
do it for
and that,
you.
yes, you and that association club that you were talking about, you could make like Bordeaux Con, and there could be a big
Yes,
convention in
yes. See if I
Bordeaux.
can make it bigger than the one that exists.
Yes, there
Started
you
by
go.
Perfect Gamer.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, with
yes.
cats.
Hey, oh, absolutely. Like you gotta have a cat featured in the logo when you get there. That's gotta be
I will.
absolutely, absolutely. So it's really just, this has been fun. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show
No,
and talking to me.
thank
This
you,
is
PJ.
awesome. So tell everyone who's listening or watching where they can find you currently on all your social media platforms.
You can find me on Instagram at Perfect Gamer. So it's Purr, per, and then Perfect Gamer. And
Yep.
I'm just on Instagram with Perfect Gamer at the moment.
Okay. So that's your only platform right now.
At the moment, I did open a Tumblr, but I'm just trying to see what works for me. And at the
Right.
moment, it's Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Well, guys, thanks again for listening. Yeah, what can I say? I mean, if you're ready to move abroad, there are friends in South France that can set you up with some gamers. So, you know, if that's something you're thinking about, it's like, I gotta go now. I didn't realize how close to Carcassonne you were, and I'm like, ooh, a bucket list item. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it needs to
thanks for
happen.
listening. Thanks for listening, guys. As always, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We want to get to 100 by October when we hit our 1 year anniversary on YouTube. We'll see what's coming. We're in the middle of con season, so there's a lot of content coming now that I'm like 99%, right? Still fighting a cough every now and then, but almost there. So hit that like and subscribe. Please place comments either on Spotify or YouTube or wherever you listen. You know, I can see them. I try to respond right away. And yeah, make sure to share and get the word out so that people watch the show and we can build a community and unite players around the world. So be kind to each other and keep playing games. Thanks again.